Welcome. In this video, we'll be again taking a look at how to solve word problems. So I'm again going to refer back to this general word problem solving strategy, and just want to reiterate that not every step is going to apply to every single problem. This is just a general list of things to think about. So let's go ahead and just take a look at number one and see how we might solve that. So it says, for his long-distance phone service, Ben pays a $5 monthly fee plus 9 cents per minute. Last month, Ben's long-distance bill was $16.97. How many minutes was Ben billed? For how many minutes was Ben billed? So my first step, as always, is to write down what our goal is. And I see the words how many, so the goal is probably going to be to answer this question. So it says, for how many minutes was Ben billed? So for me, my goal in my own words is just to determine the number of minutes for which Ben was billed. And since we don't know how many minutes that Ben was billed for me, that's going to be what I call X for right now. I can't really draw a picture of that, so I'm going to let a variable stand for the number of minutes that Ben was billed. Okay, so it's going to be difficult, as I said, to draw a picture. But let's see if we can figure out at least some piece of information that might be relevant to reaching our goal. Well, what they tell me is basically in the second sentence, they tell me how Ben was billed. So they tell me that Ben pays a $5 monthly fee plus 9 cents per minute. So this is another thing that I like to do. If I can't figure out how to put those pieces together, what I do is what I call a pretend situation. So let's pretend that we actually know what X is, that we know how many minutes that Ben was billed. Let's pretend that X equals 10 minutes. So in other words, Ben was billed for 10 minutes. And let's see if we can figure out how they came up, or how you would come up with the amount he was billed for. Well, what it says is that his bill consists of a $5 monthly fee plus it's 9 cents per minute. Well, if Ben talked for 10 minutes and it's 9 cents per minute, then the amount of money that he would pay would be 9 cents times 10 minutes. So his total bill is going to be 5 plus 0.09 times 10. Well, what if we left, instead of putting 10 in, what if we left 10 as just X? Because again, we don't know how many minutes Ben was actually billed for. Well, then I can actually see how this is going to go. So the bill is going to equal 5 plus 0.09 times the number of minutes for which he was billed. And so just seeing sometimes a situation with actual numbers, I think, makes it easier to then work with the variables. Okay, let's see what else we can figure out from the problem. It says last month Ben's long distance bill was $16.97. Well, that tells me what the bill was equal to. So what I know is that the bill is actually $16.97, and I know how they got that. That was 5 plus 0.09x. So now I've actually got an equation that I can go ahead and solve. So in order to solve this equation, my first step would be to subtract 5 from both sides. So I'm going to write this over here. We've got 1697 equals 5 plus 0.09x. So I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. And when I do that, 5 and negative 5 make 0, so I'm left with 1197 equals 0.09x. And then to get x alone, I'm going to divide both sides by 0.09. And this is a problem where they would actually give you a calculator in order to solve it. So going to my calculator, we've got 1197 divided by 0.09, and we get an answer of 133. So my answer then is that 133 equals X. And now the question is, have I answered the question? Well, my goal was to figure out the number of minutes for which Ben was billed, and remember the number of minutes is what I called X. So I have figured out what number X stands for, and I am all done. Okay, I'd like you guys to try number 3. Pause the video and then restart it after you've given it a try. Okay, so for number 3, our goal here is, again, if I write it down in my own words, it looks like it's what was her sales amount last month if she earned a total of $18.24 and 44 cents. So it's to determine her sales amount which again we don't know, so I'm going to call that X. Okay, so let's see what we can pull out from the problem. So it says Amanda is a saleswoman. She is paid a base salary of $1,400 a month plus a 2% commission on the sales she makes. What was her sales amount last month if she earned a total of $18.24.44? Okay, well, let's see if we can come up with the way that they came up with this total amount. So it looks to me, if I look at the second sentence, that Amanda is paid basically in 2 ways. She's paid a base salary of $1,400 plus she makes 2% commission on the sales that she makes. So again, I'm going to do a pretend situation, and we're going to pretend that we know how much she sold. So we're going to pretend that X equals $100 worth of stuff. So we're going to pretend she sold $100, and let's see if we can figure out her salary. So her salary then, well, what it says is her salary consists of 2 things. It's going to be $1,400, so she's going to make that no matter how much she sells, plus it's 2% on the sales she makes. Well, if she sold $100 worth of stuff, how could I figure out at the end of the day how much she actually makes in commission from that $100? Well, if it's 2% commission, then I'm just going to multiply those 2 things together. So 2% is 0.02 times the amount that she makes in sales, in this case is 100. So that means in general her salary is going to be $1,400 plus 0.02 times her sales amount, which is just X. And now they actually tell me how much she makes totals. They tell me that her salary is actually $18.24.44. So I'm going to plug that in. And now I've got an equation that I can solve. So I'm going to subtract 1,400 from both sides. 1,400 negative 1,400 makes 0. And on the left-hand side, I'm left with 424.44 equals 0.02x. So then if I divide both sides by 0.02, again, this is an exercise where they would give you a calculator. So it looks like the answer is going to be X equals 21222. And now the question is, have we answered the question? Well, we were supposed to determine her sales amount, and that was X. And so since we figured that out, we are all done.